Chauncey Spencer and Dale White, in an effort to raise awareness of blacks in aviation, made a daring flight from Chicago to Washington, D.C.
Well, they finally arrived in Washington, and they were riding the little commute train that goes between the House and the Senate. And they met the senator, and he was interested in what they were talking about. As a matter of fact, he was so interested, he went out to the airport and saw the airplane. And he wasn't as interested enough to take a ride in it, so they had offered it. But he said, if you guys have got guts enough to fly that thing to Washington, I have guts enough to go up on the Hill and fight for your opportunity to be involved in the program.
That senator was future President Harry S. Truman. As promised, he supported the inclusion of blacks in the Civilian Pilot Training Program. The Civilian Pilot Training Program, or CPT, was a government initiative to increase the number of qualified pilots in the country. It was originally sponsored by the Department of Commerce to help develop the aviation industry, but world headlines of the day gave it military overtones.
The United States began to realize that war was imminent, and that Colonel Lindbergh, having toured Europe around 1940, was in Europe when Hitler's forces invaded Czechoslovakia and so forth. Lindbergh observed that, contrary to the terms of the Versailles Treaty of World War I, which denied Germany to have any kind of armed forces at all, in spite of that, the Germans had begun to circumvent that rule of the treaty by training a large number of aviators in the Hitler Youth as civilian pilots.
Germany was way ahead of us in airplane development and all aspects of flying, and the Congress and President Roosevelt were aware of this, and they wanted to mobilize, and CPT training was the initial step. This was, of course, long before Pearl Harbor.